Hey gang! So, as my fans may have noticed, I've been away for a while. Thanks. Anyway, had some crazy in my life, trying to get back to what could laughably be called normal. And while I may not put out as much content as I used to, for now... I'm back, bitches! Anyway, I was directed to a letter for atheists. Let's take a look.
Atheists. Thanks for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me, really. I'm a religious guy who's devoted my life to a God you don't believe in, so you're taking a bit of a risk here that I might insult you, make you feel bad about your life, or at the very least, waste your time.
You know what? I've been doing this for a while and I'm a nobody in this field. But everybody who makes response videos like this has, at some point, dealt with people actively trying to insult, threaten, and berate from all sides of the theological debate. I try not to be very insensitive to people who don't deserve it, and appreciate that you seem to be the same. I really hope that you don't come off as accidentally too condescending in this.
I'd like to pose a question to you. It's a very simple question, in fact. It is more of an exhortation from me to you. This question is not meant to trick you or convert you. I don't have some super ingenious question that will somehow inspire faith in a deity, as much as I'd love to. I'd rather just like to challenge you. You say that you're an atheist, that you don't believe in gods, and I just want to know one thing. Are you a good one? Are you a good atheist?
Using that word as the basis of your question is a bit problematic.
There it is. The key word, good.
What is good can mean different things to different people. What is good can mean different things to different people. I've marched with pro-choice and pro-LGBT activists thinking that I was doing good, while the people we were marching against thought they were doing good by attempting to restrict a woman's control over her own body and denigrating people for consensual relationships and how they perceive themselves. For another example, my country has recently been digging up the mass graves of the victims of the residential school system. We can look back on that as a horrific and shameful chapter of our history, whereas the priests who were in the schools at the time sincerely believed that they were doing a good thing, attempting to remove the First Nations people from their culture. Good is such an elastic term that what is good to one person can be monstrous to another.
It's a question that I ask with two things in mind. The first being related to morality. While religion in general, and Christianity in particular, doesn't necessarily make someone a moral person, these ways of life do necessarily demand morality of adherence. There is a particular code of life that one must live. In the case of Catholic Christianity, that code is one of peace and justice, mercy and forgiveness. It's a code that seeks to care for the poor and seek reparations for those who take advantage of the vulnerable. Now, Lord knows we don't always live up to our founder and have actually done some pretty atrocious things through the years, but it is our faith that at least informs us when we do these things and gives us and reminds us a moral code to live by, reminds us that it's not an option. We must strive to be good people.
Why? Seriously, why do you strive to be good when by the definitions of your teachings you can't be good enough, and all you need to do for any of your sins is ask forgiveness and it'll be given? For every misdeed that you do, you can be told that you're forgiven for it. If I ever harm somebody, I have to live with that, look in the mirror every day, and live with the choices I've made. I would love to say, at least there's a deity who forgives me for my trespasses, but at the end of the day, the one I'm accountable to is me, not a divine being that says it forgives the most egregious of harms.
Now, as someone who doesn't have this foundation, who doesn't believe in a God or adhere to a religion, there is no superstructure making this demand on your life, no one telling you how to live in certain situations. Without a belief in an afterlife, there might be a feeling that all the world is futile, so what difference does it make?
That there is no afterlife is precisely why I try to make a difference, to be a better person. As far as I can tell, Hobbes was right. Not that Hobbes. Better. As near as I can tell, Hobbes was right. Our lives are nasty, brutish, and short. We appear to be adrift in an uncaring and unfeeling universe. So why not try to do what we can to make things better? I don't see a deity out there improving things for humanity. It's up to us to do it.
What if I told you it doesn't help? What would you do if you found out that none of it matters? What would you do?
I'd get this truck packed before the new stuff gets here. Want to give me a hand?
I do.
Sure, there are theists out there, as you said, who try to make things better because they think their God decreed it, told them this is how they have to be. And there are atheists out there who try to make a difference despite, or, as I said, because this is the only life we had. From a practical standpoint, it doesn't matter why we try to be decent humans if the end result is a better life for more people. But you do it because you are told to. I do it because it's the right thing to do.
This, of course, does not need to be the case. Some of the world's greatest humanitarians, some of the most influential figures today promoting peace and justice efforts, are not adherents to a religion, but live morally out of a commitment to humanity, a recognition of our interconnectedness, an acknowledgement that there is something good in itself about loving one another, about sacrifice. And so I ask you, are you a good atheist? Even though there may be no eternal reward or punishment, even though you're free to do whatever you want, do you choose the virtuous path that benefits not only you, but others? I hope so. The world needs good atheists.
But I'm really not free to do whatever I want. See, I have empathy for other people. If I wanted to hurt somebody, and believe me, there have been times I felt that desire, I know I couldn't do it without a fairly extreme reason, because I have to live with the consequences. I know that I don't enjoy being hurt, non-consensually outside of the bedroom. So, I know that hurting others is just as bad. I'm not free to do whatever I want, because even if I escaped society's punishment, my harming others would result in a more personal penance. Knowing that I hurt somebody unjustly would harm me emotionally, which is why I don't do it. My morality is pretty simple. Try to reduce harm. That means don't cause any harm unless there's a damn good reason. For instance, in general, I don't think stabbing people with a piece of metal is generally a good thing. But giving vaccines to people makes those healthcare workers heroes. And, off topic, if you haven't yet and are able to, get vaccinated.
Now, of course, the word good points to more than just a sense of morality. It also represents an evaluation of aptitude. When I ask if you're a good atheist, I want to know if you're good at being an atheist. Do you articulate why you don't believe in God in a coherent way, or you just think that religion's dumb, so use logical fallacies?
Yes, I can articulate it, and it isn't that difficult. I dismiss the claims of an intelligent entity behind the creation of the universe, both yours and the claims of other theistic traditions, because they haven't been shown to be true. That's it. A simple, I don't accept your claims. If you or any theist wants to convince me that I'm wrong, show me the evidence.
Have you explored the depths of your mind and heart, asking the real questions of life, of death, faith and reason, seeking to understand what this human life is really about? You just not want to go to church, so this'll do.
Who says that this life is about anything? I haven't been shown there's any real meaning imposed on our lives. As far as I can tell, we haven't been given any purpose for our existence. We are simply the result of the guess-check method of natural selection that over billions of years resulted in a species that's able to make its own determination of what we want our lives to be. And I find that just amazing.
Have you read the critical atheist thinkers of history? People like Nietzsche, Sartre, Feuerbach, Heidegger, people who really ask the challenging questions, who pose thoughtful insights of the world. Or you just stick with people like Richard Dawkins, people who provide great sound bites for the cause, yippee, but do little to add anything to the world other than strawman arguments and divisiveness.
Actually, yes, I have. I had to study some of those philosophers in school, and before you ask, yes, my papers on Nietzsche were just as pompous and pretentious as you would expect a 20-year-old university student who thinks he has everything figured out. Oh, if I had a tricked out DeLorean, I would go back and give myself a good smack and let my past self know I wasn't nearly as clever as I thought I was. But here's the thing. You don't need to study anybody to be an atheist. Not the classic philosophers, nor its modern proponents like, as you mentioned, Dawkins, or even myself. You just need to say, no, your claims about a deity don't convince me. This is not to say that I'm stating for a fact that a deity doesn't exist. I admit that I could be wrong. There could be an intelligence behind the creation of the universe, maybe even one that is accurately described by one of the world's religions. But simply, at this time, I have no reason to accept the claim there is one because no evidence has been provided. To be a, as you put it, good atheist, all you need to do is say, the claims of a deity don't convince me, so I don't accept them.
Have you read for yourself the works of real theologians, people articulating our beliefs in the best way we know how? Karl Rahner, John Henry Newman, Joseph Ratzinger, Augustine of Hippo, Henri de Lubac? Or do you stick with the simplicity of evangelical pastors from some rural anti-intellectual church?
Again, I had to study a lot of religious beliefs in school, from the Abrahamic claims of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, to the teachings of Eastern religions like Hinduism, Taoism, Buddhism, and Shintoism. And they all had one thing in common. You had to take their claims on faith. That's what pretty much drove me to being a complete atheist. I had kind of thrown off the specific Christian beliefs that had been taught in grade school by that point, but I figured there was something out there. Learning about other forms of belief, I came to the realization that all religions are houses built on sand with no support other than belief in faith. And that's enough for some people, just not for me. Yeah, I may not follow that book, but you have to admit, some of the metaphorical language is well done.
I ask all of this not to be accusatory, at least not overly accusatory, but to simply challenge you to go deeper in your thought. Simply declaring yourself an atheist and going about your life isn't enough, just as saying you're a Christian and never reading the Bible wouldn't be enough.
Why not? While adhering to religious belief often involves learning and following claims or texts, and learning what those claims are is important, being an atheist is simply saying, nope, I don't believe that, and then getting on with your day. Despite what the multitude of videos I've made may show, most of my life is not built around not accepting the claims of a deity. This is really more of a hobby. Most of my life is built around being the world's greatest lover, and those videos would really not be accepted on YouTube.
Yeah, you need to work on that. With a lot more effort, you might make the world's most adequate lover.
Thanks, baby. Love you too.
Ask more questions. Read more perspectives. Be able to articulate your understanding of the world with logic and reasoning that will actually add something to the world.
Okay then, let me articulate my understanding of the world in regards to religious belief. I have not been shown any evidence of a deity or deities. Wow, that was easy. I don't claim to have alternate explanations for some things that gods have traditionally been an explanation for. The cause of the universe, for example. But just because I may not have answers to the gaps in our knowledge that believers have filled with their gods, that doesn't make their explanations true. I would rather say, I don't know, than make claims I have no evidence for. I hope that logic and reasoning is enough for you. It is for me.
Because here's the thing. People of faith need you to be good atheists. We do. As a Christian, I don't want you to be a bad atheist with an unexplored mind just regurgitating fallacies. I want you to ask questions that we've never thought to answer. I want you to be so smart that it challenges us to be smarter.
You know what? That's not my job. People need to decide for themselves what they want to believe. If you want to have a creed, a doctrine, or a religion to live by, then it's up to you to determine if you can accept that it's true.
He's got to follow his own path. No one can choose it for him.
If you want to believe in your deity, then you go ahead and believe in it. I am not in a position to tell you what you should think, only what I think. I looked at what I thought was true about the universe, that there was intelligence behind it all, and when examining those thoughts, came to the conclusion that there was no reason to accept that belief. If you think your own beliefs need challenging, then challenge them. But that's up to you to do.